Did Solskjaer'S 4-4-2 diamond work? Everton 1, Manchester United 1, a tactical analysis. Before the video starts, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss out on our tactical analysis of El Clasico, Barcelona vs Real Madrid, which will be coming out tomorrow. Also check out some of my previous videos, including a tactical analysis of how Bayern Munich destroyed Chelsea 3-0 in the Champions League, Manchester City's 2-1 win against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, and Atletico Madrid's defensive masterclass versus Liverpool, securing a 1-0 victory. All of those videos will be linked in the eye above and in the description below. Going into the game, Ancelotti used his familiar 4-4-2 shape with Pickford in goal, Coleman and Baines as fullbacks with Keane and Holgate at centre-back, a midfield double pivot of Andre Gomes and Tom Davies, with Sigurdsson on the left of midfield, Walcott on the right, and Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin in the front two. Solskjaer moved away from his usual 4-2-3-1 shape to use a 4-4-2 diamond, with De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka and Shaw the fullbacks, Lindelof and Maguire at centre-back, Matic as the deepest midfielder with Fred and McTominay either side, Fernandes at the point of the diamond with Greenwood and Martial up front. Within 3 minutes of the game, Everton had taken the lead after David De Gea's disastrous mistake, taking too long on the ball and kicking the ball straight at the oncoming Calvert-Lewin, from where the ball rebounded off the striker and into the United net. From the start of the game, it was clear what Everton's offensive game plan would be. They would look to play direct balls into their front two and in behind the United back line. One of the strikers, say Richarlison, would make a movement deep to drag one of the centre-backs out of the back line, from where Andre Gomes or one of the centre-backs would look to play a long ball over the top for the other striker, Calvert-Lewin, in this case, to make a run onto. This did cause United, and in particular Lindelof, huge problems within the first 15 minutes, as Calvert-Lewin was able to make a run off of the Swede and create a one-on-one chance for himself. In possession, United deviated from their usual 4-2-3-1 and instead used a 4-4-2 diamond, with Matic the deep single pivot, Fred and McTominay wider and more advanced than him, and Bruno Fernandes at the point ahead of those three. In order to counter United having 4 players in central midfield, Everton used an incredibly narrow 4-man midfield, with the 2 wide midfielders Sigurdsson and Walcott playing tight to their central midfielder when the ball was on the opposite side, positioned almost as a wide central midfielder themselves. When the ball was in United's defensive third, Everton would look to engage them high, with the front two asserting a press on the centre-backs and Gomes or Tom Davies stepping out from the midfield line to apply pressure to Matic when he received the ball. Everton looked to use a similar pressing tactic to the one Klopp used at Dortmund, which is cutting down the width of the pitch by forcing United to play down one side. This could be seen when Lindelof had the ball. Richarlison, rather than moving over to confront him, would sit centrally and cut off the passing lane into the deepest central midfielder. This stopped United being able to play through midfield and switch to play with a combination of short passes and force them into playing more direct passes down the right side of the pitch, making it easier for Everton to shift over to the right, condense their 4-4-2 shape and ultimately win the ball back. Whereas Everton did look good when pressing United in the defensive third, when United were able to beat the press and sustain possession, it was easy for them to progress the ball into the final third. This was because with 3 men in central midfield rather than the 2, United were able to circulate possession from one side to the other quicker. Matic did bring the long passing ability from deep that Fred and McTominay lack. He was able to get on the ball and switch the ball out to either Shaw or Wan-Bissaka with one pass, moving the play into Everton's defensive third. The wide forwards for United, Martial and Greenwood, were instructed to drop deep from the forward line and spin in behind down the channels in an attempt to isolate their centre-backs in one-on-one situations. United looked most threatening when the ball was down their left side, with Martial moving into the channel frequently, dragging the fullback out wide. Fred played more of an advanced role than he usually does in the 4-2-3-1 in this system. Playing as a wide central midfielder, he was allowed to venture forward, make underlapping runs in between the fullback and the centre-back when Shaw or Martial had possession on the flank. This enabled him to get into some good positions around the corner of the Everton box. United pressed Everton in a 4-3-1-2 shape, with the front line of Fernandes, Martial and Greenwood pressing in a V shape from Everton's build-up. This wasn't hugely successful in stopping Everton moving out of their defensive third, as it seemed to be a disconnect between the United front three and their midfield. Whilst the front three would push up high up the pitch to a man-to-man pressing shape, United's midfield was more reserved in their positioning, sitting deeper, probably because they were wary of the 2 Everton strikers being able to drop deep and receive the ball direct to their feet. This meant that Everton were able to play passes from their centre-backs to the midfield 2 and move the ball out of their defensive third. Halfway through the first half, Everton stopped playing direct balls up to the front 2, which hampered their ability to progress the ball forward and sustain attacks. They were looking to get their wide midfielders into the half spaces behind United's midfield, but Solskjaer'S three-man midfield did an excellent job at closing off these spaces. Everton should have carried on feeding the ball into Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin from deep, as Lindelof did not look comfortable playing against Calvert-Lewin in the air, and both players were causing problems making runs into the channels. Fernandes got the equaliser, but it came from another goalkeeper in the howler, as his shot went straight underneath Pickford. In the second half, United continued their pressing shape, as Everton returned to playing direct balls from back to front, utilising the front two's key assets, which was their running in behind the back line and their aerial ability. This resulted in Calvert-Lewin being able to isolate Lindelof in one-on-one situations in the channel and breaking through United's high defensive line. United's narrow defensive shape left space on the flanks for Everton's wide players, however Ancelotti's side did not take full advantage of this. The wide midfielders Sigurdsson and Walcott, and then Bernard when he came on, were more concerned with moving into narrow half spaces where the play was already congested. The fullbacks weren't advanced enough either, which meant that when the ball was played out wide of United's narrow 4-3-1-2 shape, Fred and McTominay had time to shuttle across and close down Sidibe and Baines, whereas if they had positioned themselves higher up the pitch, the United fullbacks would have been forced to move out to close them down, and this would have created space between the centre-backs and fullbacks for Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to make runs into. However, around the 70th minute, Baines on the left side did start to move further forward, and when Sigurdsson moved inside from the left, Baines had joy overlapping into that space and putting crosses into the box. Even though Everton did begin to press United more aggressively from their build-up with Davies and Gomez both pushing up to the deep-lying United midfielders, it was Solskjaer'S side's lack of attacking patterns of movement that was a problem. The ball was shuttled out to the fullbacks from where they had limited options and often had to resort to a pass sideways into Matic or resort to a long pass up the pitch to the front two and potentially concede possession. Solskjaer recognised that Everton were beginning to dominate the game and were able to play through United's press much easier than in the first half. This caused him to bring on Ighalo and Mata and move to a 4-2-3-1 pressing shape. This would allow the wide midfielders to cut off the passing lanes into Everton's fullbacks and stop them progressing the attack forward. Nevertheless, Everton did have the better of the last 15 minutes and nearly grabbed the winner until the VAR ruled that Richarlison was obstructing De Gea's view and was offside. So overall, Solskjaer's decision to use a 4-4-2 diamond was a good decision in terms of the defensive side, as it stopped half spaces materialising for Everton's wide players to move into. However, the high pressing system did look disjointed, with the front three and midfield looking unclear on how high they should engage the Everton midfield. United were over-reliant on Bruno Fernandes to create in the final third, and even though the midfield three played fairly well, they still lacked the incisive ability to break down Everton. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.